Hello, everyone, and welcome to my senior capstone proposal presentation. My name is Ashley Macho, and I'm doing the Path to Literacy. A little overview of me is, again, my name is Ashley. I'm a four-year student here at UH West Oahu, and I graduated from Pearl City High School in 2022. I'm a creative media major with a concentration in general creative media. So today, I'll be going over my plans for my senior capstone project. I'll state my thesis statement, my objective and rationale of my research, and address the significance of my proposed project. My thesis statement is children's literacy is declining. To motivate young children to read for pleasure, parents need to be involved in their child's literary activities by third grade. Parents need to easily access children's literature to promote it at home. I was interested in this topic because I recently got back into reading as a very avid reader as a child, and I had noticed my peers in college didn't really read for fun anymore, and I wondered why that was. And I also saw a lot on social media that educators of elementary school children were saying that their kids can't read on reading level, they can't spell basic words, and they don't even like writing a paragraph. And so I wanted to research if that was true or if it was just my TikTok algorithm, because that's not trustworthy, and what we could do to combat that if it was. And so the objective of my project is to increase parents' engagement in literacy activities with their children and what situations could take away from reading motivation and to discover how to motivate a child to read. And that despite the abundance of children's literacy programs and organizations, literacy scores are slowly declining, and this started before COVID. And that the decline of literacy skills can lead to a higher chance of not graduating high school and a lack of reading comprehension skills in their adult life. For my senior capstone, I plan to deliver a website that hosts free children's books that is easily accessible to low-income and time-poor parents with a function for exploration. Onto my significance. My first significance is that there is a decline in literacy. On average, nationally, children are half a grade level behind in both reading and math, and this decline started before COVID. Hawaii follows this negative trend. So this graph that I'm showing is the average reading English scores for grade 4 students in public schools. The white line is the national average, and the gold line is Hawaii's scores. So as you can see, we started off very behind, but we just caught up, but then we started to follow the national decline downwards. Lagging behind in reading makes students 3 times less likely to graduate high school on time, and that's when they're not on reading level by third grade. And illiterate children grow into illiterate adults who are less likely to vote, read the news, or get a job. My second significance is about pleasure and choice. So reading for pleasure outweighs the effects of socioeconomic status. And when children read for pleasure, they better process the material and retain the content and skills that they use to read. And when it's a book of their choice, they're more engaged. And being engaged with their book means that they retain unfamiliar sentence structures, they enlarge their vocabulary, and deepen their background knowledge. And when it's a book of their choice, rather than being forced to read one for an assignment, they will willingly read for longer, and it allows an investment in education, achieving higher levels of learning, belonging, autonomy, and the desire for engagement in their education. And just overall, their learning improves. My third significance is about parental involvement. So parental interest in academics outweighs the influences of social class, family size, and parental education. And children who are read to by their parents at least 3 times a week are 2 to 3 times more likely to read on grade level. So parents being interested in their child's education has a much larger influence rather than things that are a little less out of their control, like income and their own education, and that might negatively affect it. So some data for this is on the left is a list of influences that impact a child's education in both English and math. And so like father being in the top socioeconomic status, that only has a statistic of 1 0.03, and although it is positive, the parental interest is 17.48, which is much larger. And it is the largest number in this study that was done. So parental interest is just that strong of a positive influence. My fourth significance is about time and access. So in the United States, children in low socioeconomic status families are 3 times more likely to have fewer books than those in a higher class, and that the parents, whether they come from low or high class, may be time poor. And so time is separated into 4 categories. There's contracted time, which is your job or education, committed time, which is taking care of your house and your family, necessary time, which is self-maintenance, sleeping, eating, bathing, and free time is what is left over. Unpaid work time, like house maintenance, is usually dominated by women, and paid work time is dominated by men. But when the contracted work time may bleed into committed time, and that's when parents are low income, so they have to work multiple jobs, or just parents who have long hours, that's when it bleeds into committed time. And when you're not meeting the minimum required amount of time for committed time or leisure, that means that you are time poor. So in the United States, there's 30% of single parent who have 2 or more children, they are time poor. A single parent with 1 child, that's 28.69% of them are time poor. But what's interesting is that versus, let's say, 2 adults, 1 child, that's 27%. And that's not much of a difference. So even if you have a partner with you, your house and you yourself may still be time poor. This looks a little different in Canada, but this comes to show how the time calculations work. So what's important here is the allocatable time. And that is the time subtracted necessary time and committed time. And when they calculated the total work hours of single and coupled parents, they found that the single parents are in a time shortage. But of course, you can't have negative time. So that time is coming from either their committed time or leisure time. And this is in Canada, so it's a little different than the United States. So the coupled parents are in a time surplus, but still the 25% of children in Canada enter kindergarten without the skills needed to learn how to read, and that is 35% of children in the United States. So we're a little more time poor than the Canadians. My target audience is single parents of children grades 2nd to 3rd, as well as their teachers. And that's because I want to use the influence that parents have over their children to motivate them to read and explore with books. And of course, their teachers can also use this resource. My proposed solution is to combat the lasting effects of illiteracy. I plan to create a website that provides free and easy access books that parents can explore with their children. So the first 2 weeks of the semester, I'll be gathering the resources of free books that I'll include on the site. And I'll also be looking into other websites that provide free books and looking at their UX and UI. One website that I was already looking at was the Internet Archive. And that website isn't very mobile friendly, and it's very laptop based and a little laggy. So I would be looking into things like that and how to make that better for my website. And the next 4 weeks after that, I'll be designing the wireframes and that comes from sketching to high fidelity. Once I have all my content and I'm happy with my mockups, the next 6 weeks. Okay, sorry. For my deliverable, the first I definitely want a mobile first outlook of the website because that is the most accessible piece of technology rather than a laptop and tablet that a parent would have to bring around. And I definitely like this gallery view. And I'm doing a digital platform because many parents have found after COVID that books are much more accessible digitally rather than print books, and that reading an ebook fostered more engaging experiences for parents and children as long as they did dialogic reading prompts. And that is when a parent and child is reading together, and the child and parent can have a discussion about the book, and that helps with their reading comprehension and storytelling skills. And the ebooks help specifically in this instance because the digital platform provided a prompt for the parent instead of the parent coming up on their own. I also want to include these two real-life classroom activities, which is book talk, and that includes the author's name, the genre, synopsis, who and why would like reading the book, as well as speed rounds and literary stations. And this is an activity that is purely on exploration. So there's no pressure to finish the book. It's just that the child explores with the first chapter of a book in a random genre. And so digitally, I'm thinking of it like a Google I'm feeling lucky, where if the child doesn't know what type of books they like and the parent doesn't know, then they could randomize it and do that exploration together. And this on the side is the color palette that I plan to use. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I'm open to any questions.